Hi, folks. Mean Gene Okerlund here, and I got to tell you about the BROcast. This is something. They have got news like you would not believe. As a matter of fact, it's like my old hotline. I used to tell all of the great stories about Mae Young and the Fabulous Moolah and some of the kind of funky things that we did. Can't talk about it here, but you'll hear about it on the BROcast. Check it out. Fantastic.
BROcast.
It's False Finish, presented by the BROcast Network and Bodyslam.net. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the debut episode of False Finish. What? And
with
yeah, we're back here. This is your boy Topher McCann, and we have Mr. Dom Mallon.
BROcast with a whole new twist.
Yes, we are starting up the network. We start up the BROcast Network now, in which we are starting this new show, this new venture, False Finish.
We realized that the BROcast is just too big for one idea, and the brainchild of Topher McCann, it really is. It's not a podcast, it's a brand itself. So we've decided to rebrand the brand, and the brain genius himself, Mr. BROcast General Topher McCann, will now be going with the BROcast Network. And of course we have the juggernaut powerhouse of the BROcast Network, the staple, Notes on Notes, will be resuming soon. But we're bringing you another new twist, another angle of the dimensions of Mr. McCann's beautiful mind.
You're so well spoken. I'm not saying anything. You keep going.
And we're going to be focusing a little bit more on one of our other passions here on the BROcast Network, and that is professional wrestling in all aspects. It's been a great year, a great couple of years. Pro wrestling really is on the upswing, both on just a professional fan level and I think on a pop culture level. And we've decided to take advantage of that and let the BROcast Network expand into what we're going to entitle False Finishes. Again, my name is Dominic Mallon, and I'm honored to be sitting in the second chair. Usually you're sitting here in Notes on Notes with the man himself, Mr. Jared Schaefer. Who,
we'll hear from him soon.
Pulling back the curtain, he's currently asleep upstairs because he is my roommate. But it's not his time. I'm taking the chair for a little while now, taking it out of his grasp, and hopefully I can live up to the fame.
You have that beautiful, like, late night drive vibe to you. Like,
it's because I didn't go to sleep last night.
Driving home, and you just, right before they play like Love is a Battlefield or something, you're on there like giving a little, like, what was that, Delilah? We used to have, like, at nighttime there used to be like Delilah, and she used to tell like stories and then like play a song and it would be dedicated to someone. But you have like that smooth, like,
I appreciate that.
You cool cats, you keep it cool here, and here's a little bit of
right here in late night listening to that. You know, funny little side story. I used to love listening to anybody in the Philadelphia area, if they remember Street Corner Serenade Sunday nights on the Oldies channel. I used to, during college, I would come home and I would work in Philly, and then I would drive back to college Sunday nights, and I would always listen to that until one night where it had me so relaxed that I fell asleep at the wheel listening to it, and that was the last time that I did that. So
it's not good.
Hopefully I can be melodic without putting you all to sleep. I don't want to be your Dramamine.
We can't have that. Can't have that. All right, so we're kind of going to be here today, kind of telling a little bit of maybe BROcast backstory here real quick, and then kind of how this all came to be. BROcast in general, I started back in 2013, where it was just, I've told this story countless times, but it was literally like a Wii microphone. I think that was from Rock Band Wii. I set this up and recorded.
I thought you meant like a miniature microphone. Like a wee bit of microphone.
Oh, Wii microphone.
Like literally a Nintendo Wii microphone is what you used. Right?
Yes, it was from Rock Band, which came with like the guitar and like drums and whatnot. And this microphone, which was the first ever episode, was that just put in the middle of the room with like 5 people. And then it just kind of escalated from there, where everyone got individual microphones and headphones. We got a mixer. I slowly
can't stop talent.
Yeah, I taught myself everything. I went to college just for a little bit for journalism, communication. Wasn't kind of my thing. Got out of it, learned a lot of good things there, and just kind of taught myself the whole recording and uploading, starting a website, getting a hosting network, and figuring out RSS feeds and how to. And I feel like when I started back then, it got easier. It's way easier now where they made it for you. But back then it was a pain in the ass trying to figure out everything. And I am OCD with stuff, sound quality and everything. So if it's not good,
You're really selling
upset.
yourself short too with the way that you came up too. I mean, to look at where we're at right now in this professional ass studio with all this equipment, it's really a far cry from just recording something on a Nintendo Wii. You really, over the years, you've really established yourself. The BROcast really took off. If not for a lot of personal things going on with, just being unable between work and you're a full-time dad, husband. It's hard to be able to keep on a regular schedule with weekly updates and things like that. But, you really have a lot of momentum going, and hopefully now being able to get more content on from different areas.
Cause that was my dedication with BROcast. Like, we put out on Mondays. So I had for 5 straight years, for the most part, I'd say we maybe missed a handful. Every Monday I had something out. And then honestly, it was only the past year, like towards the end of last year, where it was more focused on notes on notes, which we're going to get into real quick in a second. But for the show, it kind of went
as it should.
Yeah.
As it should. Any longtime fan of that show knows it was all good, but the diamond of that really is Notes on Notes. You guys have a great chemistry, and the idea itself is basically, well, here, you real quick, for anybody who doesn't know what Notes on Notes is, talk about what that is. Notes
on Notes, we started back in April 2016. So we had this idea, and me and Jared came up with this while me and my wife were with the kids. It was raining at a Burger King in the indoor jungle gym,
it was
or whatever
raining.
it was called.
I love the setup. What a setting.
Yeah, you have to. We're setting it right now. Can we get some rain effects in here, please?
As the clouds ascended and raindrops fell softly upon my head.
So yeah, we started just texting back and forth, and we just had this idea where, I don't know if I saw some article or something about celebrities who recorded albums that you really wouldn't know about.
So people who aren't musicians, who became celebrities in other aspects, who use that fame to then make an album.
And some maybe started with an album you didn't know about and then got famous somewhere else. Or they were famous as an actor or something, or an NBA star or something, and then put out music.
Right.
So I kind of went down this hole of just researching this, and I was like, wow, there is a lot of
more than you'd think
people who fall into this category.
Yeah.
So we decided, we had this idea where we would listen to these albums. Each episode would focus on an album. We listened to it prior and then come into it and kind of give a backstory on the person and the album, and then listen to each track, just a little part of it, and kind of has its own little comedic twist in there where we have Notes on Notes itself as a podcast, but sometimes we go into little podcasts within that podcast of a certain topic we're talking about.
A subsidiary podcast?
Yes. It's just fun. It's ridiculous. And it really, when we came up with that, it was like that remotivation, and that's what pushed the show since about 2016. The last few years, that was that was the one that people were listening to the most, and that was the most fun. So that combination was just like, all right, we have something here. And then we just build off that.
And once you did build off that, you started to get a lot of hits from it.
Yeah, we just went, and then we had,
remember when we were down in New Orleans for WrestleMania 34 down there?
Nonce.
And you were wearing your BROcast shirt, and some random guy from, where was he from?
South Carolina.
Yeah, from South Carolina was like, oh, BROcast. So that's the kind of reach you have. It's not like, oh, just our friends are listening. Like, there are people all over the place that are listening to your voice.
That was the day we went to the psychic too, and that happened. That was a crazy day.
Let's not get into that.
All right.
That'll be to be continued episode.
But yeah, then we basically started going off Notes on Notes. Like, we have at the end of each episode, we pull another name out and do that. And then we're like, all right. And we just have more ideas. Like, the way it worked, like, Jared came up with the name of the show. As soon as he said Notes on Notes, it fit perfectly. Like as soon as it happened, I was like, that's it. That's it.
Everything about that show fits perfectly. The concept, the name, the team behind it, the people that you pick. I mean, who were some of the last? I mean, just wrestlers that you've done. Macho Man Randy Savage had an album. Hulk Hogan had an album. John Cena that I was privileged to be able to be on and interview with you guys.
I would suggest if you're new and you're listening to this, one of my most favorite, and probably it'll be the best description of what the show is that first one we did with Hulk Hogan. There's a preview episode out where we kind of talk for 20 some minutes about what we're planning on doing with the show. That Hogan one the songs on there are ridiculous. It's so much fun. But I would suggest checking that out. And then I think if you like, I think you'll get hooked. It's fun. We've done from Corey Feldman, Joe Pesci, Hilary Duff, just all over, David Hasselhoff, just all over the place with.
My favorite was, Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci has an album and he raps on it and it is absolutely fantastic.
Vincent LaGuardia sings for you.
But if you like what you're hearing and you're interested in that aspect of the BROcast Network, we'll make sure that we have links out below on
everything. Yeah, everything will be in the description. If you're listening to this in the description for the episode, we're going to have links from plug away. You can check everything out. Just put it here, thebrocastpodcast.com. You can get all the episodes there. I've updated the feed freshly. It's all of our notes on notes, almost in basic order, so you can go check them out there. And then we build off that. So now we have more things with notes on notes. We came up with going solo. So we do albums from people who used to be in bands. It could be Beatles. We've done Nick Lachey recently, who was in 98 Degrees. It's all over the place where
or
people...
that Justin Timberlake? Keep an eye on him. He's on the rise.
So anyone who was in a band or whatnot, we sometimes do go on solo where we tackle someone's solo album. There's just more. Every 10 episodes we do covering our tracks where me and Jarrett pick our favorite song off of each album that we do for 10 episodes. We have like a little draft and then we come up with our own album of the 10 songs, 11 songs we draft. And then we usually have a guest on and we battle our albums of our songs, like track one against each other. And that's like a little thing on the side that we do fun with it. But just, I really highly suggest, hopefully, you guys are into maybe laughter and ridiculousness, definitely check out the Notes on Notes, which it's coming back.
So that's more or less a lot of what the rest of the BROcast Network has to offer. But fast forward to where we're at right now, and where we're at right now is pro wrestling. And that is going to take up the lion's share of the content that we deliver here on this new addition to the BROcast Network, Falls to Finishes. I'll give a real quick just run up of how we got in conjunction with bodyslam.net. And the big man in charge, Cass Hayes, or Haynes, depending on who's picking up his car. Nice little inside joke for us. But
Casshole.
Or as I'm going to refer to him here, henceforth moving forward on this podcast, as El Jefe. So El Jefe and I met a few years back through a mutual friend of ours. Shout out Jay Carfagno if you're listening. At a old House of Hardcore show that was happening at the old ECW arena in Philly. We met there. It was the first time that we met, and we were able to get ringside seats to it. And I had no idea who this guy was. I'm from Philly. He's from the Carolinas. He's like long distance friend of my buddy Jay, but we're all there at the arena that night, sitting there front side and, or ringside. And at the end of the show, I know the Young Bucks were in the ring and they had a match with, I believe it was Bobby Roode. And I cannot for the life of me remember who the last person was. I want to say James Storm maybe, but that could be wrong. End of the show, Sandman comes out. And I didn't really know anything about Cass at this point, El Jefe. But
I know, yeah.
Sandman leans over, points right at us, points at Cass. And
El Jefe?
El Jefe. And goes, get in the ring. And Cass doesn't know what the hell's going on. I'm looking at him, I'm like, do you know the Sandman? He's like, no. He goes, yeah, you, get in the ring. Pulls Jefe into the ring, and then tells the Young Bucks to pull, like, other people in the ring. So my two other buddies that were with me get pulled into the ring with him. And I'm sitting here like a schmuck on wheels, just watching all my buddies in the ring.
Oh, no.
But that was my first introduction to Cass. And fast forward a little bit, I find out that he is one of the big up-and-coming wrestling journalists. Basically, that a lot of the boys in a lot of the locker rooms have the ear of, and he's got a lot of branches and a lot of different networks. keeping up a conversation with him. Thankfully, he was able to bring us in and put us on his branch at Busted Open.
Busted Open. You listen to Busted Open?
Plug Busted Open. But on Body Slam. And thankfully, we'll be able to add some content to there. Hopefully, we'll be able to get Hefe onto the podcast every once in a while and maybe bring in some other guests that are wrestling related.
They can come join us.
Yeah.
They can come sit on my lap right here. The closer the better. The closer the better with everything going on recently, right? Closer the better.
Absolutely. Which brings us basically to our next point as we get into what's going on with wrestling today.
There's no other way to debut than a quarantine. And I think we're picking the perfect time right now.
It's true.
These J-Brones are sitting at home and they need content. They need content. And they need us. They need us right now. I think more than ever.
We should just jump right into it. Let's get into what's going on in the state of wrestling on, what's today, the 18th? March 20th. Wow, that's how bad it is when you're in quarantine. You're 2 days off.
So this is our first Kickout.
Yeah. There will be many false finishes.
So many. Spot monkeys we are.
But in case you've been living under a rock, which actually is probably
that's probably the safest, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's actually what the government is saying to do. Wrestling is pretty much the only form of athletic entertainment on your television to survive the past few weeks, given what's happened with the NBA, the NHL. I mean, anybody who's listening to this probably knows the situation that's going on.
Dude, they canceled the tourney, man. They canceled the tourney.
It's March sadness.
It really is. I was on the side note real quick. I've been looking forward. I switched jobs recently, and I've been looking forward to finally being able to watch like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, nonstop basketball finally for the first time in 15 years. And they just took it. It's over. Everything's over.
You had that glimmer of hope in your eye. I know how that is too, when you're looking forward to something seasonal, that it's been like a long amount of years since you've been able to fully enjoy it, and then boom, just like that. What?
It's like, I'm happy, like, because we went to the last two Manias. You've gone to 3 out of the last 4?
Little fun fact. I have gone to every single WrestleMania since WrestleMania 30 that has not taken place in that armpit of a state, Florida.
Wait, are you making fun of WrestleMania 31? No, hold on.
I did not go to WrestleMania 31. You're right.
Yeah, that's it's a great
finish number 2.
It's a great. All right, here we go.
That's what happens when you drink this early in the day.
I love 31. I think we put it on the other night.
31's your favorite of all time, isn't it?
Because that's what kind of got me back in. I'm the same story as I watched it religiously growing up. Like my oldest brother were 8 years apart. He had an apartment. Used to go over. Used to have the hot box. Find them. And we used to watch a pay-per-view, and then he would drop me off at 11 something. My mom would be like, "It's late. What are you doing?" So I loved it. And then the same thing I think a lot of people say, like, go to college and kind of get out of it a little bit. And then I used my child as an excuse because he originally liked it. Like about I went to a Royal Rumble party with our buddy Papa Shane Doc.
May he rest in peace.
Part of the Four Handsome Men. And
Shane unfortunately passed away about a year and a half ago. Haven't seen him since, but
gone but not forgotten. Saw him the other day, but he's doing gone but not forgotten. And he had a Royal Rumble party where everyone has it. You pull out the numbers or whatever. And I remember I had long-haired wet guy who I didn't know at the time that was Roman Reigns.
So that doesn't really narrow it down at all.
And it was him and Batista in the Rumble finishing up.
Bautista?
Yeah.
Are you saying Boo or Bautista?
Blue Tista.
Oh, Blue Tista.
I was saying Bautista.
And this is where, everyone was booing Batista, and it seemed like everyone wanted Reigns to win, and I was like, all right, I'm in this money. And then, I don't know why I started watching it after this, because it was just foreshadow of what this company was doing for the next 4 years to me, for the most part, with everyone I liked. But yeah, I somehow started watching it, and then my son was into it when he was younger a little bit. He was like 3, 4, and then he kind of...
Quick side note, if it makes you feel any better, I actually won the last year's Royal Rumble. You know what? You were in that. So I don't know. That might make you feel worse. Who
came out? Who came out at
Drew McIntyre, baby.
Yeah, I know you won, but who did I have at like 23 that came? I had like terrible ones. I don't remember who they were, but they were all really bad.
But I'm sorry. So fast forward. So your son's getting into it.
And then he kind of like really liked the entrances, stuff like that, the music.
When you're that young, that's what you like the most, the entrances and the backstage stuff.
Yeah. And then he got kind of out of it, and then I just continued still watching it or whatever and getting just sucked back into it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not complaining. I love it. And I like how the older you get now, it's like I used to be when I first started watching again in 2015, I used to be like real like on the hush about it. And now it's like I'm completely different now where if people talk shit on it, I'm instantly just like, nope, I watch it. I like it. Like, it's just like,
that's the thing.
I used to be like I used to be very, but I think I feel like a lot of people were like that in my age demographic in their like 30s.
Well, you know what? I think it's because it's so much more accessible now to the casual fan than it would have been even 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, people that don't care to watch it now but still miss being able to watch the Attitude Era, or older fans that like the territories, they can watch on the network and they can still watch that. So then they become fans, even casual fans, because of going onto the network for that. You get guys that watch it because their girlfriends got into it because they're watching Total Divas or Ms. and Mrs. and that kind of stuff.
Works.
I know a bunch of people that got into it just recently because of that, and I feel like it's a lot more mainstream now.
They have so much stuff to watch.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I love filling on like YouTube clips in the network, filling in the gaps of when I stopped watching from the early 2000s to 2014, 2015. So it was cool, like seeing everything that happened, stupid stuff, everything. But I don't know. But it's crazy how I blew through all of that and completely just a head full of wrestling now. So
right.
It's a good thing.
It's funny. I'm actually the kind of opposite from that because I feel like the thing for me is the nostalgia of it. And I feel like, because I did the same thing. I shied away from it in college. I watched it a lot in grade school and then in high school. And for me, those memories, like you were saying it, watching it at your brother's house, I had a lot of memories of watching it from at my buddy Ben's house in one of the guys that I did plays with in high school. And I remember being just sitting there watching it with a bunch of people there and hanging out, watching those between like 2005 and 2009 years. And then shying away from it and not really watching anything in those college years until I got back into it around WrestleMania 30, 31 when Daniel Bryan was getting on top. And now going back, I'm more likely to go rewatch the ones I've seen than go back and see what happened during those years that I wasn't into it. Cause for me, it's all about just that simpler time, referring back to the nostalgia of it. And that's why I still watch it today.
Yeah. I think I cut back rewatching stuff now. It's like usually for the most part, it's 2015 and on. I'll just rewatch things that since I started watching again. But I did take that time, like 2016-ish, where I like went back and just watched as much as I possibly could about the past like 10 years.
Yeah. But I mean, just to circle it back to this whole coronavirus thing, that's what makes it wild is because right now you're not getting any original content from anywhere else. You're not getting any athletic competition from anywhere else. And wrestling, in a way, is, I mean, I'm sure they're hurting just like every other corporation that has to deal with this. They're not getting live shows or anything like that. But in a way, they're really coming out strong just because of the fact that, I mean, that's the only thing on. You're getting a lot of looks from people that aren't normally going to watch wrestling. But I think the shows that they've been putting out in this past week, despite the lack of attendance, I think have been really strong.
Yeah, it's a rough position to be in when you're so used to, they were talking about doing originally when they didn't think this thing was as big as it is about doing the basketball games, but we're just going to empty arena or whatever, when still in that case, it wasn't even like people were trying to still be able to do things, but it's cool how they like it day and night though, I think so far, not to bash on, but WWE and AEW, I think AEW put on just recently the way they did it compared to WWE. Just, they handled it. I don't know if they had the advantage of seeing like a SmackDown and Raw the way WWE did it. And then I think that is the case. They could see what worked and what didn't work and what WWE didn't think about maybe in their production meetings.
That's true. They definitely got the advantage there.
So, I mean, I'm not going to, I think regardless what they did to the Performance Center to change that over, knock out like 7 rings and just keep one. And, but again, like AEW, just the smallest thing where they decided the hard camera, the background, like was the stage. Just the littlest thing we kind of already talked about before, but which we're going to talk about now is just having a few wrestlers in the crowd. That
was the most beautiful thing out of all of it.
It was great.
It gave such a unique look. And you're right. They probably got the benefit of seeing what the obvious negatives are to one of those empty arena shows and realize you got to have something going on, even if it's just a handful of people. And in some ways, that AEW show this past Wednesday, I kind of personally liked it better than a crowd full of people.
And see, that's where I'm like this, but I think it would have been, I said it would be one of the most, it probably would have been the best Dynamite to date, just because it was Brody Lee. I'm gonna keep saying Luke Harper all the time, but
it's new.
It was his hometown. I mean, you have double debuts. I don't know. I just think it would have been one of those. It's still a memorable moment, but I just think it could have been like more goosebump worthy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised they still went through with saying they were going to do the Exalted one and actually.
Right.
I'm surprised they debuted both of them in the episode.
I loved it.
It's wild. But.
Because there were people that were disappointed that it wasn't Matt Hardy to get that spot. So all of those people were immediately, relieved of that burden by the end of the episode when they saw, oh, okay, he's back and he's still getting to be broken.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the way he did his Free to Delete series, where his last episode, I don't know if people watched it on YouTube, his last episode, he had Vanguard 1, his drone, just fly up into the air and go. So when you watched it, I guess everyone just assumed, you're like, all right, whenever he debuts, you're going to be seeing Vanguard 1. Right. And the way they just pulled it off was great. I just listened to today, Hardy's on Jericho's podcast, and they were saying where they were originally going to do it at, I guess in Rochester, there's laws against drones being flown inside of the arena, so they would have had to do it. They would have had to maybe film some kind of coming from outside, and then work with that. But they said that it ended up working out where they ended up shooting. I believe they were in Jacksonville. They could do it there instead. But yeah, there were some laws against the flying a drone inside the arena.
That's so fun. I love how state laws mess up shows like that. Well, I don't love it. But.
They throw curveballs and they made it work. It was and I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with Matt Hardy. I mean, he looks like he's. Are they gonna do this blood and guts inevitably at the Hardy compound, maybe,
or at the at that same Jacksonville? I forget what it's called, but
the arena.
And you know what? I like that he's not the Exalted One, because if they're really going to pick this up from where they left it back when he signed with the WWE, then that character can go all over the place. And to make him the Exalted One, it kind of pigeonholes him creatively, and what he can do and how far he can take that broken character, because they have to confine it to whatever the storyline
that they've already. Yeah.
But, keeping him on his own. And there's no saying that he couldn't intertwine with that storyline down the line. But at least right now, it gives him, and that stifled creativity that's probably going on in his head, gives him a wide plane to be able to do whatever he wants with it.
And he set it up. I mean, they did not use him right in WWE, but he's been doing this Free to Delete series from when he was still in WWE and then made the transition. And it's crazy how, like, if you watch that series, they're really short episodes, but he incorporated Abigail with Bray Wyatt. He incorporates the TNA stuff in there. He incorporated the concerto from Randy Orton just recently. And then he's got the Buck showing up in it. It's just like he made people think he was going all over the place. And he's so creative with what he does, with just incorporating all these different things and just telling the story of this overall character that is from thousands of years ago. And it's so good.
He's too good to be confined to anybody else's idea of what his character should be. He's done enough, and he's proven enough that he should be given the reins to his own storylines, his own creativity. And it sounds like that's kind of what everybody's getting in AEW. The freedom to be able to make their own backstage vignettes.
They're coming up. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it really is.
It seems like most of the people they hired kind of get the deal and go to, I mean, enough said, but like Chris Jericho's just, he gets said enough by everybody. The guy's just ridiculous. He's so, like, anytime, the other night, my wife Chris had something on TV, and it was the guy was up, but Dynamite was on, and Jericho's music was on. He was coming out, and I was just like, oh, no. What? She was looking at like movie trailers. I was like, exit real quick. Hold on. Is he coming out and talking? And then he's getting in a commentary table. I'm like, Chris, we've had to watch this for like the next.
Sorry, babe.
Yeah. Like this is the main event. I can't rewatch this later. I gotta watch it now. Jericho's gold. I can't miss this.
He really is. And not even just to sell his own character. When he's in the announce table.
Oh, he hypes out. I mean, he loves Sammy.
He even does a good job.
He hyped Cody up.
That's the thing. He really does a good job of hyping up the people that he's even supposed to be feuding with, but in a way that continues that feud. He really is just, he's got to be on the Mount Rushmore at this point. I think if it was questionable before that, sure, it was, but look at what he's done with AEW. Because where would AEW be right now 6 months later without him? You think they would have signed that 3-year extension already?
No, dude, they everything they did with him, they needed to do. Their game plan coming into it worked completely. I couldn't even imagine anyone else hopping into that, like having that weight on their shoulder and not being able to. Because I always, like, even before this all started years ago, Jericho and his podcast, he sometimes always kind of seemed so full of himself. But I liked him. Like, it was just one of those, like, dude, he loves tooting his own horn, but at the same time, like, you never know if it's, like, still his character or, like, that's why he's so good.
Right.
Like,
well, and it's hard to blame him when it's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan over the past 10 or 15 years has just been kind of a dick in the media. It's kind of hard to listen to him. His own Hall of Fame speech.
You rarely see
awful.
him.
But at the same time, when you really think about it, the stuff that he's so boastful about, he's one of the few people that, whether, it's okay to act that way or not, he's one of the few people that can back it up. And I feel like Jericho's the same way. As boastful as he wants to be, yeah, he might be kind of brash about it, but he's not wrong about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
how funny was Sammy Guevara at that?
Oh, it's all the small, even like weeks like when they started doing the little box, going to commercials, and he did the poster boards with the words on it. Just like the company just does so many with the creative freedom again, and this isn't going to be a show where we like bash WWE all the time or whatever, but just comparison wise with certain things, it's just like you can see the advantage of having a little bit of creative freedom, and then you just hear the stories of WWE where everyone is constricted word by word. It sucks. Like, it would just be WWE has the potential to be so much, but I know it's.
Well, it seems to me at least that AEW is really good at finding. All right, here's our restrictions. What's the best way to do what we want to do, despite those restrictions, without actually violating them? And with WWE, they get those same restrictions and they kind of just fall back.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to offend, because they have more people they have to answer to. They have more people in the creative process. It's just easier to just say, okay, we'll just abide by that. And by the time you get the finished product each week, it's way more watered down than it probably started with.
Yeah. Because it's like, I listened to Tony Khan recently on the AEW podcast with, I think it's like Aubrey and Tony do it together. And he was just saying, like, they basically have the storyline where we're going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like, all months ahead planned out. And it's just like, we know these, but in between that, it's more of just, they're sticking to A, B, C, D, but everything in between is kind of what they're given the town to do. And WWE will do the A, B, C, D, E thing, and all of a sudden just shake it up. Like, we're not doing D anymore. D's done. Right. You know what? Scratch C also. And that's like recently, I mean, I've already ran about enough, like what they did with The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, who's been one of my favorite characters over the past year. I just don't like what they did with it.
Yeah.
You should never put the title on him then at that point. And if you're gonna, you should have kept the title on him. And you should have had the feud with Cena, having him go chase for another title. And then the Fiend, I don't know. If Fiend's going over, it just makes sense. You have Cena back for a little bit. He goes for the record, doesn't achieve it. He can come back later if he wants to do it. Doesn't matter. He's going after this anyway. Some things they just look down the future. They put the title on him, and then all of a sudden, like, they back themselves into this corner, and then they have to come out of it, and then people complain, and then everyone's fighting on Twitter, but it's fun. That's why I love it. I love it. I love it so much. That's why I like ranting about it. It's stupid. But it's storyline, and it's like, I don't know. I love the struggle. I love the ups and downs of it, the ebb and flow of everything. I like getting really mad about it. I like caring. I don't know.
And I do like what WWE did with their Empty Arena NXT show this past Wednesday. I really liked how they used a lot of that airtime, not to so much give live wrestling, but to give what they do best. And it's those,
story.
Yeah, tell the story of the feud. And I mean, you have such a great feud with Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, and to keep that going. I hate when they try to stretch out a storyline as long as possible. And I feel like they lose a lot of the spark throughout the way when they do that, just to try to get it where they need to be and stretch it out. But with this is kind of one feud that I really would love to see never end. If neither of them have a title and they just keep fighting and keep banging out classics like this and go back and forth between being on each other's side and being feuding, that's fine by me. And I was more than happy to spend an hour just watching the catch-up of that entire feud leading into WrestleMania.
And the only thing I didn't like with WWE, the way they promote Raw, and it's like, I know it's hard to fill 3 hours of TV, but it's like, I really think they should give a fair warning saying we're going to re-air the Royal Rumble tonight for like an hour and change. Like, I think they should. I don't like how they just kind of like don't mention it, but they go like, we got Taker, we got Stone Cold. Like, I get what they're doing. They're going to like air that, like they're filling time. They're going to make you come. But I don't know. I just feel like, to me, it's just like shicey. Just like say you're going to be airing a match or something, or release it on Twitch, something.
Well, they're not in the business of shying.
I know they should.
Viewers away.
And I'm not complaining either because I loved it. It was a great Rumble. You love it too, man. Want money off that? It was
Absolutely.
great.
I was more than happy to relive that moment. But you know what? But at the same time, and I don't want to bash WWE because I really, really enjoyed it.
I really have been though for like the past 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
But I really have overall enjoyed and honestly, it's really unfair to compare WWE to AEW as much as they are, because WWE is not even close to what AEW is as far as what they have to contend with each week and who they have to answer to, the amount of content they have to produce each week. But at the same time, as much as I really loved overall what WWE did this past week in light of all the, risks and stuff that they, constrictions that were placed on them, that Stone Cold segment was so cringeworthy.
It's bad, man.
It was so bad.
I could just say, because I've ran it for this for a while. I'm not the biggest. I liked Becky Lynch prior to all this. I feel like I liked her up until she got her nose broken around when they did like Survive. Like, who broke her nose? Like Nia Jax or something?
She was so awesome right then.
Basically, when I liked her, and then right after that is when the whole like kind of push started happening.
Right.
And then I just felt like they just, which they did, you can't deny it, they just mimicked Stone Cold things. And I was just waiting for this moment with coming in a big truck. And then they literally brought her out and she's drinking beers with Stone. I don't know. To me, it's just, I think it.
You hate on her a lot more than I do, though.
You're
just not a fan of Becky.
No, but I used to. I just don't like, dude, I think it's the same thing. Like, man, people will nitpick at me. It's the same thing they did with like Reigns when they were like, I just feel like it's forced. Becky, I much preferred her when she.
So it's not so much that you hate Becky.
No, I just don't
you just hate the way that they
create the way they write her character. I don't hate her. I hate that she stole Seth from me, but I mean,
I know that this is our pilot episode, but this is news and breaking content to me because I just assume that you just straight up hate her.
No. It's just like that. Just feel like it was just forced. I just didn't like it. I just
Remember how awesome she was back when we were talking about when her nose got broke by Nia, that SmackDown episode leading up to Survivor Series, and the episode ended with her just in the crowd with her arms
busted
up,
nose,
just busted nose, looking concussed as
orange
hell,
hair,
bloody all over her face, and like in a weird way, she looked like crazy, sexy hot because of the way that she was just sitting there like, I'm the fucking man. Excuse my language, but it like I always liked Becky prior to that. But that really won me over that night, and I don't think I dislike what's been done with her as much as you do, but to an extent, I really do agree. It's a shame that they had that much momentum back then, and that was only, well, that would have been, what, a year and 6 months ago at this point, so 18 months ago.
I just think it's done, and I just feel, I didn't like that, even though it was a big thing, I just kind of, when we went to Mania last year, I was not the hypest for
that main event.
That being the main event, but that's just, I was more interested in other matches. It was cool how they started it and Rollins won the belt, but I don't know.
Who called that? Did somebody call that? Did somebody predict that was going to happen?
You?
Was that me?
You? Rollins kicks off all the Manias I go to. He won the IC title the year prior in New Orleans, and then the next year won the Universal.
I don't think he kicks off this year.
Yeah, so we can,
That's another piece of news. WrestleMania 2 nights now. How do you feel about that?
I think it's cool. I don't know. I think they should have adapted to this a while ago with an audience. I think it'd be like a spectacle where they could still have Mania somewhere and hold it like 2 nights. I don't know how you work tickets if you
do a smaller venue then?
No, I feel like people would come out both nights for it.
That's true. That's one thing people travel
because it's like and then it's not as. You put on a 3 and change show, like a normal pay-per-view, and then you come back the next night and do it. People have that gap in between of waking up, still having, I don't know. I just think it would take away from shows around WWE, which you can't, It's not their problem. Everyone else running shows there. But, I think it's not a bad idea if you already have the venue for the weekend. Why not book it Saturday and Sunday. People are gonna have all the focus on you. But it kind of like monopolizes like indie shows almost and stuff where you're taking up. They only have Thursday and Friday, and maybe not even that because they run a Hall of Fame or an NXT, which they postponed. But
you know,
I just think it's beneficiary to the company to maybe do that.
To that end, though, when you think about it, all those indie shows, like when we went to New Orleans, there was a lot of hype around those indie shows. We went to the
Joey Janela's and ROH.
We went to the Super Card of Honor. But when you think about it, the card at Super Card of Honor featured Kenny, Cody, the Bucks, Adam Page, so many guys that aren't going to be available anymore because they're exclusively with AEW now. And AEW has already said that they're not going to run a show WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
So how strong are the rest of those indie? I mean, you'll still get House of Hardcore. You'll still get maybe, I guess, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla will come out. MLW, I think, does a show. You'll get a lot, maybe, I think Wale Mania.
Yeah.
You'll still get these shows, but the landscape's very different now. You know, I don't know if I would choose going to Super Card of Honor over going to a second night of a WrestleMania show now.
Yeah.
But 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we went to New Orleans, I would have 100%. I was looking forward to the Super Card of Honor almost as much.
I remember I was torn.
Yeah.
Because we decided to go and I was like, dude, NXT card is so good.
And it was that year.
And at the same time, it was like, dude, the Super Card show. I mean, that was Kenny and Cody. Like we saw one of the craziest tag team ladder matches ever that night.
Yeah, that was wild.
But then also, I remember coming home and seeing, that was the night Cole won the title, right? Or did he win the North American maybe then? But I remember that match, their ladder match was insane too. So I think we made the better choice, but also that was my first ROH show, so it was kind of worth it. That's kind of sad coming from someone in Philly. Probably should have went to more Ring of Honor shows probably.
You know, it's so sad because we both live in the Northeast section, and there were so many shows back when Ring of Honor was, I don't want to say at its peak, but back when it was getting off the ground and it had, you know, guys like Daniel Bryanson and Bryan Danielson. Holy. I haven't even had that much to drink yet. That's the problem. But, you know, guys like that and it was happening down the road. We could have taken a freaking bus, straight shot down the boulevard for like 20 minutes and gone to those shows.
Yep.
But, you know, so be it. Now they emanate a lot of those shows out of the old ECW arena, which is just as fun. Seen some shows there. Actually ran into to Dewey and Noelle Foley at one of those shows once. And side fact, they are as nice and friendly in person as they come across on a camera. And not to talk too much about them, but I watched Behind the Mat for the first time in my life yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, yeah. And I've never watched it before that. They are hands down the best part of like them with Mick. It's so adorable. They're so cute with Mick.
So young.
I love Mick Foley. He I think might be, when it comes down to it, my all-time hands down number one favorite wrestler. Him and The Rock.
So hard.
And it's funny that they tagged. I gotta get a Rock and Sock Connection.
Rock and Sock Connection?
Wonder if they make those. Like tag team bobbleheads?
I'm sure you can find something on the interwebs, I'm sure.
I'll make one for me.
But yeah, the 2-night Mania thing will be interesting. They have the opportunity now to book 2 nights of a main event, which, I mean, like we were talking yesterday, I felt like we kind of agree, like maybe like a Roman and Goldberg is something that like starts off a night, because it's probably they're not going to put Goldberg in a log match. So I think I think that's a good opportunity to knock a title match out of the way, putting it on just.
So you think Brock and Drew get night 2, and you think Becky gets night 1? Becky and Shayna?
I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
And
or do you think Edge and Orton get one of those?
I feel like Edge and Orton will be on the first night.
Really?
Yeah, I think. And then I think Bray and Cena will be on the second night, I feel.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, I definitely think.
So you think they'll try to even it out? They're not going to try to stack one night?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm feeling, definitely. Or Edge on the first night. Because you're going to hype it up big to make come back for night 2. Sure. It's going to be, I don't know. And I just think, yeah.
I think you get 8 hours of content. You probably get 7 to 11 both nights. They already announced that they're not going to do any of the Battle Royals. I love the idea of thinking that they might finally get one-on-one matches. You're not getting matches where you're just trying to get as many people on the card as possible. So every, U.S. title match is a fatal 4-way. And, those matches only make sense every once in a while. Otherwise, it's just annoying. I'd rather see half of the performers in the ring perform a classic that came out of their heads.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this, especially without the fans, I'm hoping they let the wrestlers kind of take the reins on their own matches and just go out and ball out on it.
There's reports that WrestleMania might be pre-taped.
I wouldn't hate it.
Apparently they're starting this week. They're bringing people they're going to pre-tape Raws and SmackDowns, apparently.
Man, I hope that.
But, I mean, I wouldn't be against, if nothing gets out to a public, they're doing the match in an isolated area. They put on the match and they have time to work on it and they can perfect it and edit it certain ways or whatever. I mean, what's the difference of us then watching it? We're going to see it. I don't know. I think that's what they might do. I feel like they might go in different locations. That's what seems what the report is, and I don't disagree with it.
I hope that that's what they do. I would be upset if they didn't, because the only thing that would be the benefit of doing it the other way would be the pageantry of the live crowd and the live aspect. But if we're not getting that anyway, then I don't want to see a bunch of botches. I want to see it look crisp, clean, pretty, and
like they keep the commentary table away where they can promote it where they say and they cut to the entrance and then you don't have to see the commentary anywhere, and they can keep it where it is live still, but the matches have been recorded and they can I kind of feel like that's what they may do. It's just you don't know about certain people they let in and stuff getting leaked.
Right. But you know what, even if it does get leaked, they're probably only going to film it a few days leading up. I'll just stay off.
It's so hard though. It's so hard.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
No, it is. It's so hard. I can't stay off social media. I have to block words and phrases and stuff. I used to do that stuff when any of my teams would lose championships. I remember after the Sixers lost to Toronto, I just blocked words like Toronto, Raptors, Kawhi, Leonard, Sixers, Philadelphia, all these words.
Sadness.
For 48 hours. And then
I forgot you can do that.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, you're the one who told me that you can do that.
It's a sucker's way out of it. You're not I instantly just go right for denial. So I just do that. That's the only grief stage I go through. Just right to denial. Never happened. Wipe it off the face of the earth.
Well, what's the match that you're looking forward to the most?
Orton Edge with their build, and Fiend Wyatt. I want to see what they do. I want to see Drew. I'm excited for the card for the most part. The only one forced really is AJ and Undertaker. I think that's a weird build to a match, and just bringing his wife in. I don't know. It just seems weird, and I really think there's always rumors of him doing the American Badass coming out, but it seems like that's what's going to happen, especially the way he came out this past week.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to. I feel like they definitely would have in Tampa, but I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off at the Performance Center and do it. But hey, I don't know.
I don't know. I gave a million reasons why they should have done it in New Orleans if you go back and watch our old episode of our New Orleans recap. And they didn't do it then. But at the same time, maybe it was for fear of disappointing that fraction of the audience that wants to see the dead man. And without that audience, then you can really do whatever you want.
That was such a bad thought. Oh my God. When he came out and wrestled Cena for 20 seconds.
Yeah. Oh. All the hits, all the classics. But you got to see his entrance live. So
it was super cool, yeah. And then soon enough, we saw him in Philly, tag with Roman Reigns.
But you missed that. You weren't able to see his entrance, right?
I already saw him Mania. I was good.
But you missed it. But luckily, we got your son Brady in. He was able to see it.
He saw the Taker there, and he saw the big dog. Yeah. So it's kind of we're moistening the palate here for False Finish. Just kind of the vibe we'll do. We talk about a few current things. We have some ideas for future, maybe possible recurring segments, which we are working on ironing out, which will maybe spice in every once in a while here.
We're big on drafts, and we're big on brackets, and we know everybody's hurting as much as we are about the lack of March Madness going on. So in the immediate future, we'll probably get together nice little tournament style based on best interviews, best promos, best pay-per-views, things like that.
Yeah, and all this stuff. Yeah, best, we can go all over. So many topics, from best title wins or best, honestly, I can think of about 50 right off the bat. You know all these lists that people put up with, but we can do something a little bit more. We can branch it out and kind of go with it for a while.
And we'll make it fun. We'll make it interactive. We're going to have, we already have the BROcastPodcast.com on Twitter. We also have that on Instagram. And, when we do these things, when we post our brackets, we'll obviously post the blank bracket out online first, let the viewers follow along. And
we can update it.
Yeah, we invite you to submit your brackets in. We can talk about it on the air. Get a nice little fun little day out of it.
Yeah. And just a couple things like that. Hopefully plan for the future. Do we have anything else to tackle here for first one? We're plugging some things away.
I just give some big thanks to El Jefe over at bodyslam.net and for putting us on and kind of pushing us to get this false finish off the ground. We got
their Twitter.
Psych. Oh, false finish.
Solid false finish. Yeah, so you check out everything Body Slam. You can go check them out, bodyslam.net. Their Twitter is at bodyslamnet, and they're on Instagram, bodyslam.net. You gotta spell out that dot, though.
As of today, we're getting that big Jefe money from Body Slam, baby, signing all those checks, paying the bills for us.
Big checks. We get the big checks. He sends them out to us, these big, huge checks.
God bless you, Jefe, for keeping us in diamonds and furs.
You can check out all things BROcast. We're at thebrocastpodcast.com. Twitter, you can check us out at BROcast Podcast. And you can check out also our Notes on Notes handle for Twitter, which is run by my co-host for Notes on Notes, Jared Schaefer. You can follow that at Notes on Notes Bro. And we're also on Instagram, the BROcast Podcast. And also, I just started a TikTok for BROcast Podcast. You can, I don't know, I haven't made one yet, but I feel like maybe there will be wrestling related stuff on there and Notes on Notes stuff on there. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay. I tend to stay off social media, but you can also follow me at pornhub.com/Mr. Bojangles with 3 Z's.
I like it. I
hope that's not an actual account because I don't want to get sued. No, let's sue me. I got plenty of time now.
And
I love a legal battle.
Also, just a quick word for BROcast, our sponsor, Amazon.com. If you do shopping on Amazon, use our link, which is in the description for the episode. It costs you nothing extra, but it helps out BROcast in general and helps us, pay for equipment if it goes down or whatnot, and just a small thing. So if you use Amazon, check out that Amazon link. I don't know what the hell the situation is with Amazon now, and coronavirus. I don't even know if I still see trucks outside randomly.
Yeah, we got to find a way to pay all these overpriced, sexy interns that we have running around the office. So.
I mean, yeah, it is
one way or another.
Wasted currency we are doing right now. They look great though.
I don't want to end up like Entertainment 720.
All right, but we're gonna get ready to get out of here. I mean, we kicked out of that first one. I think we did pretty good.
It's true.
And we'll see you guys next week for our second Kickout. And so on, and so on. I'm Topher McCann.
I'm Dom Mallon. Adios, bro amigos.
See yous.
BROcast.